1039.
You're listening to The Alex Jones Show.
Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. I'm David Knight. We're taking your calls. In the last segment, we were talking to Chris from Nevada, an ex-policeman. He was talking to us about these policies that, for all intents and purposes, he pointed out they don't call them quotas. They call them policies and different procedures. They have a different name for it. They don't want to call it a quota, but a quota by any other name, I think, is still a quota. I want to go back to Chris because I kind of cut him off and started talking about the way they do enforce the policy they call broken windows in New York City, which essentially works out to, in many respects, being a quota. They talk to them about the number of arrests that they want to see this coming up. They don't think that they're on their job, so that implies that they want to see more. Actually, in the case of Adrian Schoolcraft, Chris, they were pretty explicit with the types of numbers that they wanted to see for very specific types of crimes. They say, I want to see this many of that type and that many of that type. They didn't call them a quota, but they had very direct numbers.
Yeah, because they're typical politicians and they should be fired.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll explain how it works to you. Every month, the computer generates a stat list of all your officers on your squad. I was a supervisor. So you look on there, and if there's people that are below the average, you go talk to that officer. And initially you say, hey, you need to bring up your stats because they're low compared to everyone else. Next month, if that continues, you bring them in and you have a conversation and you document it in writing and say, hey, you need to pick up your stats. If that continues for the next 3 months, you, after not writing them up, but having a written verbal conversation that's in their file, so you have documentation to continue the progressive discipline process. So after 3 months, if they haven't picked up the pace and written more tickets or made more car stops, whatever, the area that's low, you then put them on what's called a performance plan. And then you meet with them weekly or biweekly and say, what are you doing? And you give them training and try to get them up to a standard. And then if they don't comply, then that's when progressive discipline comes in. You give them written, you give them hours, and eventually that could lead to their dismissal. So you see how they go through policy and procedure to make you work. But in the defense of departments that have this type of policy, you have to get on officers sometimes to go do work, especially in these times. You have lazy officers. Not all cops are.
Sure, I understand. Let me ask you this, Chris.
Good employees.
Let me ask you this. You're looking at an average through the police department, and you're saying, okay, this guy's not writing nearly as many speeding tickets as these other guys, so maybe the presumption is that this guy's maybe not working as hard, or he's not looking as hard. Is it possible that maybe the particular types of crimes are not there, or maybe the other people are over-enforcing? I mean, is that ever a consideration? How do they establish this baseline other than an average? Does that seem like a reasonable way to approach this for you? Because it seems to me like it might be that you've got the average being pulled up by overly aggressive officers who know they're going to be rewarded for that kind of behavior. You've also got the possibility that these crimes, if they are crimes, are not being uniformly distributed across the geographic area where these people patrol.
First-line supervisor know his people, and you have different talents with different officers. Some are good at writing tickets, some are good at getting arrests and finding the criminals. So unfortunately, the first-line supervisor is not allowed to do their job in most departments because their lieutenant or their captain are looking at stats saying what's going on, and that officer's doing more arrests, he does better work, he takes more reports, and the workflow is attributed flawed because he has different talents. And so now your boss is telling you need to write this guy up, have a talk with him because he doesn't have any car stops, yet he has a lot of reports or he has a lot of arrests, and the higher-ups are taking power away from first supervisors to do their job of supervising.
I understand, yeah. And we're out of time for this segment. Thanks for calling, Chris. Yeah, I think the problem is, I think the kind of misdemeanor crimes that we're seeing, I think it's a symptom of an unaccountable police force that essentially has a different agenda than what the public thinks the police are for. Coming up in the next segment, we're going to take your calls on vaccine experiments, or experiences, rather. I guess you could call them experiments.
For all of recorded history, civilizations around the world praised the health benefits of silver. At InfoWars Life, our mission is to bring you the highest quality, purest, cleanest, effective colloidal silver on the market today for the lowest price available. You don't have to be a doctor to know. The fall and winter months are the most dangerous time of year in North America when it comes to you and your family's health. InfoWarsLife.com is very excited to announce our biggest run yet of Silver Bullet colloidal silver, exclusively available at InfoWarsLife.com. Now InfoWarsLife.com has taken colloidal silver to the next level using a cutting-edge technique that is free of toxic artificial additives. Now more than ever, it's important to stock up on high-quality Silver Bullet from InfoWarsLife.com. No survival chest is complete without Silver Bullet. Secure your Silver Bullet today at InfoWarsLife.com or by calling toll-free 888-253-3139. Silver Bullet.
The average person's life is filled with unexpected challenges. Unlock the energy it takes to defeat these daily beasts with super male or super female vitality, specifically designed to assist the body in regulating proper hormone balance to create superior vitality in males and females. Supercharge and conquer your world at InfoWarsLife.com or call 1-888-253-3139.
The government's Department of Homeland Security is buying up loads of ammo. At the same time, they're restricting civilians' rights to own and purchase firearms. Can you put two and two together? Infidel Body Armor can stop every round, including hollow points and .308 sniper rounds, is reasonably priced and fully legal. But for how long? Go to InfidelBodyArmor.com, spelled INFIDEL bodyarmor.com. Infidel Body Armor. Just won't quit.
The month of February is all about Valentine's Day. Big heart-shaped boxes filled with delicious candy. What if we, the Patriots, hijacked Valentine's Day and instead made it about human liberty and individual empowerment? I'm all about human potential. I'm all about the individual being empowered. The establishment is the opposite. That's why they spike our water with fluoride and GMO, estrogen mimickers, and the rest of the garbage. InfoWars is striking back in the month of February with Human Empowerment Month. How we can come together and win the human race. And to celebrate the kickoff of Human Empowerment Month, we're slashing prices on InfoWarsLife.com products like Super Male and Super Female Vitality. The sale is only running for the month, 20% off, and there's a lot of other powerful specials at InfoWarsLife.com. InfoWarsLife.com, celebrating human potential in the month of February. Visit InfoWarsLife.com to find this special and many others in the month of February. Again, InfoWarsLife.com or 888-253-3139.
You are listening to an Infowars.com frontline report. If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance.
Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. I'm David Knight. We're taking your calls this half hour. I'm particularly interested in people who have had adverse experiences with vaccines in their family or personally. In this half hour, we're going to continue taking a couple more of the callers who are on the line who called in about the topic we were talking about last hour. And that, of course, was the what we call quota systems. We just had an officer explain to us that they officially don't use that word, but they do put pressure on officers, and we know from the tapes of Adrian Schoolcraft and the New York Police Department that it was very explicit about how many they wanted to see arrested per officer for various classes of offenses. And these are not violent offenses that we think the police are there to help us for. This is simply harassing people for misdemeanors that they can generate revenue for the city for. That's why New York Police Department had a work stoppage, a work slowdown, to punish the city. They know that they're essentially meter maids with the ability to bludgeon people on the street if they don't like what's happening. I want to continue with some of these calls. Before we do, of course, Alex has talked about this earlier in the show. This article is up on Infowars.com about DARPA developing a matrix-like brain implant that's powered from the spine, just like out of the movie, just like out of Matrix. And, of course, this is something that's going to allow people to bypass the eyes and go directly, transmit images directly to the brain as a replacement for things like Oculus Rift. Now, if you've ever used Oculus Rift, and we passed one around here in the office, Joe Biggs brought one in, it's pretty amazing. It's an amazing experience. And it's a pretty, you can even see the raster scan lines on the display, and yet it is an amazing, immersive experience. So you can imagine that people would willingly take this Matrix implant if they could be entertained, because that's really what our society has boiled down to. People who want to be entertained, who want to be comfortable. That's about all they care about. But, of course, I'm very concerned whenever I see DARPA getting involved in things, even with the report that we had earlier this week about the special contact lenses that they were developing for people with age-related macular degeneration, losing your vision at the center, helping them to magnify the vision. They could wink their eye and cause this thing to go into telescopic mode and magnify it by a large factor so they could actually read the print. Now, of course, they could only wear these things for 30 minutes because it totally cuts off the oxygen to your eye. But guess who funded them? DARPA. Because DARPA wants super contact telescopic vision for its troops. It seems like Eisenhower's prediction about the military-industrial complex not only driving wars, driving perpetual war, perpetual conflict for its profit center, but also taking over all research. It seems like that has come to a complete fulfillment because it's not just DARPA. I don't know if you know this or not, but there's an intelligence advanced research project agency. IARPA, I guess is what they call it. But it's not DARPA, defense, it's IARPA. They're totally about intelligence. What type of stuff are they working on? Well, here's a paper that just came out in the middle of December, forecasting significant societal events using the EMBERS streaming predictive analytics system. What is EMBERS? EMBERS is early model-based event recognition using surrogates. All right. They love their acronyms. What is it really? It's an anticipatory intelligence system to forecast socially significant population-level events, things like civil unrest incidents, disease outbreaks, election outcomes. Election outcomes based on publicly available data. Who's the customer of this? Well, that would be for national security, law enforcement, intelligence missions, because they want to know and control elections. They want to know about disease outbreaks, especially if perhaps they're the ones who are starting it. We've seen a lot of interest lately from DARPA, from IARPA, in terms of tracking the spread of disease. We've seen experiments conducted in the New York City subways. We've also seen them moving to set up a competition to track the progress of chikungunya disease. It was a fever that came out of Africa. So this is something that over and over again, as we look through this paper, they're talking about illness, flu-like illness counts, rare disease outbreaks, again, mentioning elections and domestic political crises. What they're doing is they're using open source data. In other words, publicly available data. They want to mine that information. They want to be able to predict and understand what you're doing. And, of course, this is what we've been saying for a very long time. Alex has been talking about this for years. We've all been talking about this is how they're going to use the data that the NSA is collecting on people. It's not just that they're a bunch of creepy voyeurs. That's not why they're looking at your social media. They're looking at your social media because they want to predict and control you. They're closing that loop. They're looking at the effects of how they can put in fake social media trolls on YouTube or on people's Facebook accounts to try to move public opinion. So they want to be able to measure it. They want to be able to predict it. And as I point out, anticipatory intelligence, this is the opening statement, anticipatory intelligence is considered to be one of the next frontiers of big data research. That's why the NSA, why the government is collecting all of this information. And of course, as Obama, it was not even a week ago that he did CISPA by executive order. Intelligence sharing, cyber intelligence sharing. And of course, CISPA was rejected twice through the legislative process, but Obama's corporate sponsors and the corporate sponsors of the Republican and Democrat leadership want to see this happen, so it's going to happen. And if they can't get it through Congress, they're going to push it through by executive order. Who is this information going to be shared with? They said it's going to go to Homeland Security.